Hello and welcome. Today I'm bringing you a big foundation and concealer declutter. So this has been prompted mainly by my sort of gradual realization that hyaluronic acid is an ingredient that my skin really does not like. I think it's been breaking me out for years, and it's an ingredient that is in so many products, both skincare and makeup. I've sort of realized gradually over time that my skin doesn't like it, especially when I've used things with highly concentrated hyaluronic acid in it. So more in the skincare realm, it's been really noticeable that it's broken me out with certain different masks and serums and so on, that my skin will immediately tell me it does not tolerate that ingredient. And then over just the last few weeks even, I've been realizing it even more and more, prompted mainly by the new Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, which has hyaluronic acid in it, which broke me out quite badly. And so after that, I've been kind of looking through the ingredients in all the products that I have and realizing that hyaluronic acid is in so much of what I have. And I've stopped using it almost completely, and it has made such a huge difference for my skin. My skin has been better in the last couple of weeks than it's been in the last probably 10 years or so. I've always dealt with acne and breakouts, especially in this area of my face. And I know that's an area where hormonal acne is common, and I think that's a contributing factor. But I've just noticed that since I've completely cut out hyaluronic acid, especially in this area of my face, my skin has cleared up so much. It's clearer, and it's not even just the breakouts, but it's the redness and the kind of lingering healing blemishes. This area of my face has just never really had the chance to recover. Although blemishes will come and go, there's always that redness, that irritation, the pigmentation left over from past blemishes, and it's always being re-agitated and re-irritated. So since I've cut out the hyaluronic acid, there's been such a huge difference in all of that pigmentation and the breakouts, and if I do get a pimple, it seems to be healing a lot faster. I've gone through the ingredients in almost everything that I have. I've gone through all of my foundations and concealers and checked the ingredients. I'm going to be getting rid of almost everything with hyaluronic acid. I've also discovered a couple of skincare ingredients that I've been using that have it in it as well that I'm going to stop using, except for one. So let's just go through everything, and I'm going to just talk about it. There are some other products that don't have hyaluronic acid that I'm also going to be decluttering, and I'll just mention those briefly in this video. I'll just be getting rid of them either because the tone is not good for me, so I can pass it on to someone else, or it's just really old and it's expired and needs to go. So let's start out with the skincare and just get that out of the way first, because there are only a few things that I need to talk about. So first, and the most shocking for me, I just discovered this a couple days ago. This is the Good Molecules Overnight Exfoliating Treatment. I've been using this for probably at least a year and a half, and a lot, like not every day, but probably the equivalent of every second day or even 5 days a week. And it was my primary treatment for my blemishes. So I would usually put it on this area of my face at night, and it does exfoliate. So it did that exfoliating job, but I just discovered a couple days ago that it has hyaluronic acid in it. And so no wonder things weren't ever clearing up and healing down here. So this is going. I have tried mixing this in with my body cream because I thought maybe it would be okay for that and just give a little bit of nice exfoliating on the body, but I've broken out there from it as well, so it's just gotta go. The second skincare item that I'm going to have to remove from my collection is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. This has been a huge favorite for me for the last couple of years, and I only learned today that it has hyaluronic acid as an ingredient. So I'm being pretty ruthless with this. I don't want this on my skin. I don't want it all over my face. So I'm going to be passing this on to my mom. This is a beautiful product. This has been such a great primer and moisturizer for me. I think it makes the skin look really beautiful, but if it's irritating my skin in the long run, I don't want it anymore. So I'm hoping that my mom will really enjoy this. And then the third skincare ingredient that I have that has hyaluronic acid in it is this Innisfree Youth Enriched Eye Cream with Orchid. I really like this eye cream. I love the texture of it. I think it's a really good price and you get a lot of product, but it does have hyaluronic acid in it. I've known that. And since I just use it under my eyes, I haven't noticed that it's irritated my skin at all. So I'm going to finish up this container, but I won't be repurchasing it because in the long run, the goal is to just completely cut out hyaluronic acid. So I don't find that this is necessarily irritating my skin, but I think I'd rather just cut out hyaluronic acid completely. But I will use this up and then I'll just move on to a different eye cream. Now with the skincare taken care of, I'm just gonna move quickly on to 3 makeup products that are like not foundation or concealer, but that I've discovered have hyaluronic acid in them. I am going to be keeping all of these, but I'm just going to kind of keep them in a separate area so that I'm aware that I remember that they have hyaluronic acid in them, and I think I'll only use them, you know, carefully, and I'll be more observant about how my skin reacts when I use these. I haven't specifically noticed breakouts from any of these products in the past, but it's just something that I want to monitor more closely. And because they're all blush or like highlight items, so they're all items that are usually concentrated more up on my cheeks. So I'm not as concerned about breaking out in those areas, but I just want to keep a closer eye on them. So the Rose Ink blushes, the Rose Ink cream blushes, these have hyaluronic acid in them. I love these blushes. This is another product that it's really disappointing to discover that it has that ingredient. I think the formula is beautiful and I love the way they look, but I will be keeping them, but just kind of keeping a close eye on them. If I do find that they are irritating my skin, I'll just pass them on to a friend or a family member. The M Cosmetics Serum Blush, this also has hyaluronic acid in it. This isn't my favorite formula actually, so I'm not extremely devastated about it, although this shade is unique and I love this shade. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, but I'll continue to try it out and just keep a close eye on how my skin reacts. And then the last one is the Westman Atelier Super Loaded Tinted Highlighters. They have hyaluronic acid in them as well. This is another product I love, but I will be keeping a closer eye on just to make sure that my skin isn't reacting to these products. Now for foundations and concealers that I'm completely getting rid of. Some of these have hyaluronic acid, some of them don't, but they're all expired, so I'm just getting rid of them. I'm not going to pass them on to anyone. The first is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This I've had for 2.5 years, I think, and it's too old now, so I'm going to be getting rid of that. This doesn't have hyaluronic acid in it though, so this is one that I would consider repurchasing in the future, although I wasn't blown away with the formula anyway, but at least it doesn't have that ingredient in it. The Pat McGrath Concealer, I never liked this. Again, this is over 2 years old now, so it's just time to get rid of it. But I've never enjoyed this formula. I know this is a big favorite for a lot of people, but it always creased on me, and creasing is not generally an issue I have with makeup, but it always kind of bunched up under my eyes and looked kind of dry, and it just never really worked for me, and it's expired, so that's going. The NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, I'm getting rid of that again because it's old. It does not have hyaluronic acid in it, and I like the formula, but again, it's another one I've not been blown away by. The Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealers, these are just old. I didn't even look at the ingredients on these. These are way over 2 years old now, so these just need to go. The Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation, another one that has been a huge favorite for me, but I discovered last night it has hyaluronic acid in it, and I've been suspicious of this for a while, mainly because it has SPF in it, so I was kind of wondering maybe the SPF is irritating my skin, but I think it's probably that as well as the hyaluronic acid in it. But this is also over 2 years old now, so this can just leave my collection. I won't be repurchasing it because of the ingredient. And then the last thing that I'm just completely getting rid of is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. This I find expires really quickly, so it starts to get a funny smell after even a few months of use, so I haven't even been using this lately. I do love the formula when it's fresh. I think it's beautiful, but it has hyaluronic acid, and because it expires so quickly, I'm getting rid of this and I won't be repurchasing it. Now for products that I will be getting rid of, but they're still in good condition, so I'm going to be passing them on. First is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer. This is one of my favorite concealers. I love it. I love the way it looks. I love how light this shade is. This is the shade 10, which I think is the lightest shade. It's almost white, but it's a beautiful shade for fair skin. Hyaluronic acid, so this is going to be passed on. Next is the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation. I've had this for I think over a year. Yeah, definitely, probably 1.5 years. but I think the formula is still okay. I'll have to check it, but I don't think it's gone bad. But I never liked this foundation. I just always found it felt really heavy. I didn't really like the way it looked on my skin. The shade I got, 1.5, is not a great shade for me. So this is just not something that I want to keep around, and I think it's something that someone else could really enjoy. It doesn't have hyaluronic acid, but it's just not, I'm just not a fan of it. So that's gonna be passed on to probably my sister. The next is this Becca Light Shifter Doing Tint. This has hyaluronic acid in it, so I'm not keeping it. And I'm gonna be passing this on to my mom because she has quite dry skin and really likes, she doesn't really wear makeup, but she will wear like liquid highlighters and even powder highlighters, but she likes things that really give that kind of glowing, dewy look to the skin. So I think this will be nice for her. Next up, the Armani, My Armani To Go Essence in Foundation Cushion Foundation. This I bought, it was a really good price last summer at Sephora. It was on a big sale. And the shade is not great for me. It's a little bit dark and warm for me. It was okay in the summertime, but it has hyaluronic acid in it, so I'm gonna pass this on. It looks really nice on the skin. Next, the Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation has hyaluronic acid in it. This is a favorite of mine. I think it makes the skin look really beautiful, but again, if it's gonna be irritating my skin over time, I don't want it, so this is gonna be passed on. The NARS All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation. I got this recently on sale from the NARS website, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to pass this on to someone or just get rid of it, because I think it's kind of old. Like, although it's only been opened very recently, there's something about the feeling of the formula that I don't like. I had this was one of the first foundations I ever bought years ago, obviously a different bottle, and I really liked it. And I noticed that they're discontinuing it, so I wanted to try it out again, but I just didn't enjoy this when I tried it again. So I'm gonna have to make a judgment call on whether I think it's just too old to pass on to anyone, or if it's still good enough to go to someone else. Next up is the Fenty Ease Drops. This was a little bit of a disappointment, but it does have hyaluronic acid, so that's the main reason I'm getting rid of it. I like the shade of it. It's nice and light, but I never really got along super well with this formula. It was one of those things that was okay, but I have a lot of things that make my skin look a lot nicer and that agree with my skin a lot more. So this is not too hard to get rid of, and I think someone else will enjoy this. The last one that I am passing on to someone else is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Foundation. This is one that I know breaks me out. It has the SPF, so I think that's a factor, but it also has hyaluronic acid in it. And every time I've worn this, I've only worn it a few times, but every time I know it's broken me out, even when I've worn it for a very short period of time. Like the last time I wore it, I did a makeup look, took pictures, and then washed the makeup off because I felt like it was probably gonna break me out again. And I broke out even from that short period of time wearing it, and I removed it really well and everything. So this just doesn't work for me, which is a shame, because I know it's a favorite for a lot of people. It's very luxurious and beautiful, but it just is not good for me. I don't even really like the formula, even if it didn't irritate my skin. I find it very thick, and the scent is a bit overpowering for me, but I'm hoping that someone else in my life will really enjoy this. And then there are 3 concealers that I have that have hyaluronic acid in them, but I'm keeping them at least for now. The first is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. I was really surprised to discover that this had hyaluronic acid in it because it's such a dry matte formula, but it does have it, but I'm keeping it. The shade is a very perfect shade for me, but I won't be able to use it in this area. I'm not gonna be putting that ingredient in this area of my face, but I figure I could still use it under my eyes if I want to. I may pass it on in the future, but for now I'm gonna keep it because I do like the shade and I like the formula, and I think I can use it in certain areas of the face. I can even use it as an eye primer. Next up, the Rose Ink Concealer. This was one of my favorites of 2021. I love this formula. I think it's beautiful. I think it's special. I think it sets itself apart from all the other concealers that I have, but it has hyaluronic acid like almost everything from Rose Ink has. So I'm not going to be using this on this area of my face. I may still use it again under my eyes, maybe as an eye primer and sort of in the higher region of my face, but I'm still not going to feel all that comfortable with it because I know it has that ingredient. I'm also keeping this because of the shade. I think it's a good shade comparison for other complexion products. So that's another main reason that I want to keep this, but what a disappointment because I do love this concealer so much. And then the third one, I didn't bring it out, I forgot to bring it out, but the Fenty Bright Fix Eye Brightening Concealer, another one of my favorites. I love the shade of that. It's a really like vibrant, very pale shade. And I love the finish of it because it's quite natural. It just kind of works with whatever other complexion products you're using, but it has hyaluronic acid in it. So it's another one. I'll use it under my eyes probably still, but it's not something that I'm going to be repurchasing. And also these I will not repurchase because of that ingredient. So that's it for now. Those are all things that I'm getting rid of. If you'd like to see what has survived this declutter, because this is a lot, like this is at least I would say half of my complexion products. So it's either things that have that ingredient or they're just expired and they need to go. If you'd like to see what survived this, I could certainly do a video on that. Just let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. If you have any recommendations for especially skincare items that don't have hyaluronic acid, let me know because I've been searching for a new moisturizer. I just ran out of my Innisfree Ginger and Honey moisturizer, which didn't have hyaluronic acid in it, but it's out of stock at Sephora, and I've been on the hunt for a new moisturizer. I've got one on its way that I'm going to be trying, but it is so hard to find moisturizers and eye creams that don't have hyaluronic acid in them. So if you have any favorites, let me know. If you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would love for you to do so. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.